And so, welcome. I'm Dr. Richard Johnson. Great to be back with you for our 16th session in our ongoing study of virtue, the hidden power of virtue. And today, we're going to talk about, just briefly, the feelings that are generated by virtues, by shadows, and by compulsions. One of the first things that I zero in on when a new counseling client walks into my office is their feelings. Yes, feelings are important. What I find never ceases to amaze me, and that is that very few people, I find, have a working vocabulary of feelings words, and fewer still have mastered the necessary skill of connecting what I'm emotionally experiencing at this point right now with a descriptive word or words. Yeah, I call this feelings illiteracy, and I think it's rampant in our culture. Have you ever sought out a trusted friend or a wisdom figure when you had a problem that you wanted to work out? I'm betting you have. We all have. I certainly have. And, well, what are we seeking from this person? Well, when someone else helps you to, quote, sort out your feelings, you feel better. You haven't taken any clear action yet. All you've done is air your feelings, and yet clearly you feel better. I guess feeling badly is the reason why most people come to see counselors. There's even a psychotherapeutic modality called person-centered therapy, sometimes called client-centered therapy, that focuses almost entirely on feelings as the primary means for helping people heal. Yes, once again, feelings are important. Did you ever stop to think about that every virtue, every shadow, and every compulsion has feelings that are associated with them? And that's what I'd really like to talk to you about today. If you've taken your spiritual strengths profile, they give you a clear picture of your 6 virtue strengths, and it also identifies your shadows and your compulsions that are most closely aligned with those virtue strengths. But before we look closer at that phenomenon, I'd like to look at the first 5 of the 30 virtues that is covered on the spiritual strengths profile that emerged from the research that I did when I was working in hospitals, and take a look at these 5, their shadows and their compulsions, and then the feelings that flow from them. So these first 5 are from the believing function of your personality, which is the first function, what we believe about things, our attitudes, our values, and all of that that's up there. So the first virtue that is covered on the spiritual strengths profile is a virtue I call God reliance. Its shadow, that is the absence of God reliance, is doubt, and its compulsion, when we pervert, distort, or contort God reliance, is self-dependency. Well, okay, there's these 3 words, and we could look deeper into the meaning of these things, but what I'm asking right now is, what are the feelings that flow from each of these 3 words? Well, most accurately, when we're feeling reliant on God, we feel a sense of safety and security is in our heart and soul. When and if we move over to doubt, what we find, the feeling that flows from that is being worried. I'm worried about something. And if you move all the way over to self-dependency, that I can take care of this, maybe self-sufficiency is a better word for it, ultimately we feel a sense of powerlessness and being manipulated underneath it all. The second virtue I'd like to talk about today is the virtue of humility. Its shadow, that is the absence of humility, is self-centeredness. Its compulsion is self-abasement, putting yourself down, thinking you're not worthy. A lot of people, low self-esteem, you hear it all there? So what are the feelings that might flow from humility when you're in humility? Well, kind of feeling authentic and genuine and even graced. I am graced here in all of this. Self-centered makes you demanding and kind of rough and coarse in the way you're acting here, and you feel kind of puffed up, a little narcissistic perhaps. If you move from humility over to the compulsion, it's self-abasement. And how are you feeling then if you move into self-abasement? Put down, diminished, uncertain, kind of little anxiety. The third of our 5 virtues is the virtue of acceptance, which really means to embrace God, to accept something. It's not with submission or resignation that you accept something. It's an embracing of it, like embracing the reality here. So acceptance, its shadow is dissension, its compulsion is being aloof. So acceptance would generate feelings like being confirmed, affirmed, and approved. Who wouldn't want that? If you move over to dissension, you're feeling mostly what I guess I'd call aggressive. And if you move over to aloofness, well, you're in danger of feeling isolated, alone, kind of abandoned here. Not real good. The 4th virtue today is mercy. When you move mercy over to a shadow, that is the absence of mercy, it's a combination of indifference or neglect. And if you move over mercy, this is a funny one, a strange one perhaps, if you move mercy over to the compulsion, it's the whole notion of being legalistic. So I call it legalism. What feelings flow from mercy? Being helped, being assisted, helping others, feeling the gratitude of being able to do that, feeling kind of potent. I can do this. This is showing mercy. If we move over to indifference or neglect, we generally feel apathetic. Who cares? And if we move to legalism, wow, we set up one of the things that I found in counseling can really hurt people, and that is suspicion. Is he doing that? Is she doing that? What's my boss going to do? He's saying things that, or she's saying things that. Or if you move into legalism, you can always feel very righteous. I'm better than you. I know more than you. I'm smarter than you. I'm whatever more than you. I'm better. So where would you like to be? And the final one is hope, the virtue of hope. The absence of hope is despair, hopelessness. And the perversion of hope is what we call presumption. Hope gives feelings of being assured and at peace. All is calm, all is well. You know, that there's a serenity, even a tranquility associated with hope. If you move over to despair, what do you feel? Flat out depressed is how you feel. And if you move over to presumption, then you start feeling arrogant, discourteous. I'm better than you. I know better than you. My opinion trumps your opinion. There's no politics there. It's just a word that came out of my mouth. In any event, where would you like to be? So with this as kind of a template, these 5, and that's all it is a template for you right now, but I think you get the point. How would you answer these questions? As you study this matrix here, this matrix of 5 virtues, their shadows and their compulsions and the feelings generated by them, what do you notice about the nature of the feelings that flow from your virtues, the feelings that flow from your shadows, and the feelings that flow from your compulsions? Well, in general, what we can say is that the feelings that flow from virtues are all feelings that flow from love. They're all positive feelings. They're all feelings that we want, we crave, we move toward. And the feelings that flow from the shadows and the compulsions, we don't like those at all. Those make us feel bad. We're not feeling good about anything here. It's like life is a drudgery. Is that the way you want to feel? No, of course not. Second question. Where do you feel your best? Shadows, compulsions, or virtues? Well, I think we probably answered that question. You feel your best when you're in your virtues. Of course you do. You feel your best. You feel happiest, healthiest, holiest. You feel like you're more potent. You feel like you feel like you're at peace. Peace of mind and peace of heart. Next question. Where do you feel your worst? Well, shadows and compulsions. Easy. Fourth question. Where would you like to spend your life? This points up the whole notion of intentionality. Do you think you really can intentionally move your feelings? How do you move your feelings? Well, in our parlance, in our view of the personality, you move your feelings by moving from whatever might be shadows and compulsions into your virtues. Can you do that? Yes, you can. And our final question. What conclusions emerge from this little exercise? Well, I guess the most simplistic thing is we'd rather be in our virtues than in our shadows and our compulsions. Isn't this what we're after? The whole notion of true happiness rests right here. Virtues are powerful. And yet, as the title of this whole series talks about, or implies, the hidden power of virtue. We're after virtue. We want virtue. Virtue allows us to be the persons we really want to be. We crave virtue because in the deepest parts of our heart and soul, we crave love. Thanks for listening. We'll be with you next time for number 17. We're moving along here. God bless.